You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. This is Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com, thechrisvossshow.com. Welcome to the big show, my family and friends. We really appreciate you being here today. Thanks for tuning in. As always, for the show to your family, friends, and relatives, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, YouTube, and what is there? Oh, TikTok. I'm trying to be cool over there. It's not working. Anyway, guys, we have an amazing author on the show, and she's going to be talking to us about her book that she put out on March 6, 2018. It's called Octopus on a Treadmill. Women, Success, Health, Happiness. Gifty Enright is on the show with us today, and she'll be talking about her insights, some of the coaching she does and consulting she does, and some of the things that she learned as being a mom. It's a book that's recommended as every working mother needs to read this book. And there you go. So we'll be talking to her about her amazing brand that she's built and everything else. She has spoken at multinational organizations globally, top universities such as Oxford University, and has also given a TEDx talk. She is a highly regarded writer, and apart from her book, is regularly published in newspapers and magazines. She is also sought after for an expert commentary TV programs, and Gifty originally trained as an accountant and worked in a variety of blue chip companies before crossing over into IT and management consulting. She then became an author and a coach. Welcome to the show, Gifty. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you. Hearing you read all that, it sounds like I've been about a bit.
You certainly have. I mean, we've, anybody who's lived, a life and put out a book and stuff has probably got some stories to tell. So give us a .com if you would, people, so that people can look you up on the interwebs, please. All
right. So the .com will be giftyenright.com.
There you go. So what motivated you on to write this book?
I had been on the corporate journey for many years. And then when I had my kids, it got to a point where I was a struggling working mother, still trying to go toe to toe with the men at work. But then at home, there was this whole other responsibility. And so I found myself burnt out and standing in a doctor's office, literally with a list of 14 symptoms of the things that were wrong with me. And at that point, I was also then literally, entering my 40s. So, doctors were telling me one thing. In England, we have the NHS. So on the NHS, it's like, which is free. It's like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're fine. You got small kids. This is normal. And then, my husband getting fed up and asking me to go private. And then when you go private, it's like, everything is wrong with you. So here's some medication. Go take that for the rest of your life. And I thought there's got to be a middle ground. There's got to be and I was also very uneducated about what was going on in terms of my biology. So I went on a journey myself because I thought before I was consigned to drugs for the rest of my life, I wanted to find out exactly what was going on and to understand. And it turned out I was actually burnt out and I was also perimenopausal. So long story short, I was able to reverse all my symptoms and learned to live properly in a sustainable way and understand for me what was going on for me as a woman, as a career mother, and all the rest of it. And when I came out at the other end of it, I thought every woman out there needs to know about this. And that's why I wrote my book.
There you go. We sometimes, especially when we're young, everything works right. And, you can live on 2 hours of sleep and a bottle of vodka and everything's fine. But then, as you get older, that doesn't work anymore. And you start going, hey, man, what's going on? And what are some other things that are happening? 14 ailments, man. I mean, that's just a starting point for me on Fridays at my doctor. So there you go. So I love the title of the book. That really struck my interest. Octopus on a Treadmill. Where did that come from? Give us a thing. And what does that mean?
Yeah, so basically, because my husband was privy to all my struggles, and so when I was writing the book and I was thinking about what title to call it, basically I was going to call it, How to Live Without Prozac, but I thought I might be sued. So so he came up with that title. So in this way, I wasn't going to be sued. But basically what it means is that as a career woman, particularly as a career mother, you have lots of stakeholders, and so lots of people you have to answer to, lots of deliverables, and you don't, hence the 8 arms of the octopus, but you also don't have the luxury of standing still to deliver. You have to do it on the go, right? Hence the treadmill. So this is where we came up with the name.
There you go. Octopus on a Treadmill. This sounds like it could be a movie. Maybe the octopus can be a superhero or something. But I mean, mothers carry a lot of burden in raising children and being the nurturers and caretakers of children. And in today's world, people want to work or are expected to work, or there's social pressure to work, whatever the case may be, or sometimes you have to just for finances because everything's so darned expensive, and so having to do the man's world, masculine, go out, work, lead, do all this stuff, labor, et cetera, and then come home and be the feminine nurturer and raise the kids and cook, and, do all those things and take care of a nest. I mean, basically that's what women do. They nest in their home, they create a nest, and they live their eggs, their children, and they keep it clean. And, it's a nesting thing. And so, you're struggling with really two biologies of doing this. And it's hard to balance and find that balance, I think, right?
Absolutely. It's absolutely hard to balance. But I don't think a lot of women recognize the impossible tightrope that we're walking all the time. And this is what leads to the burnout. And so particularly if you're looking at career women, so they tend to be competitive. And I was brought up thinking anything a man can do, I can do better, right? So I was there, not taking account of the fact that I had a different biology from a man, not taking account of the fact that the societal expectations on me are different from what is on a man. So you have to understand the social construct in which we live. You need to understand your deliverables. You need to understand your multiple stakeholders, and also you yourself, as in the importance of you, the mother. So you are at the center of a lot of people's lives. And I mean, there's research that also shows that 75% of unpaid nurturing work is done by women, right? So we are bearing this responsibility, and then you go to the workplace and you expect to compete toe to toe with these men who are not carrying that 75% burden. It is just not a level playing field, and something is got to give. And this is where my health went when it had to give.
Definitely. It's interesting to me. You mentioned the paradigm you were taught raising up, and the mindset of anything a woman can do, anything a man can do better.
It's the other way around. Anything a man can do, I could do better.
Oh, sorry. Did I? Okay. All right. It's still early in the morning for me. We're waiting for the coffee kick in. So yeah. So that paradigm that you said, do you still feel the same way after looking at your book and analyzing it? Because one of the things that we're designed, if you look at the biology of men and women, is we're designed to be complements to each other. They're individual strengths that women have. They're individual strengths that men have, and they're very different and many times opposing, because we're designed as a puzzle piece to join together. And I know a lot of people too from our generations, they were also told, women were told you can have everything. And I've seen a lot of burnout with that sort of mentality mindset too, because no one can have everything. It's just, as a man, we're just like, yeah, we're not doing that. That's insane. But a lot of people believe that, and then believed the thing you were told. So do you still find, after writing your book and analyzing this, that maybe that's not the right mindset to have, or is it still the right mindset?
It's interesting, actually, what you said then. It was quite a throwaway remark. As a man, they'll say, no, I'm not doing that. That is just crazy. And that clarity. A man can easily have that. For a woman, it's not as clear cut, you know, in terms of the societal construct. So we are expected to, and I always say the women went marching into the workplace, but with their kitchen sink strapped to their backs still. Right. And so it is not a matter of what a man can do, a woman can't do, or because we're designed to do different things. Yes, we have different biology, but people have different interests. And so, you know, if you're wired to, I don't know, be good at maths and go do all things computational, a man can do that just as well as a woman. But within certain levels of society and conditioning, what happens is the girls are then funneled a certain way, which means that their latent talents are not developed, and then you get roles being gendered. So I still stand by whatever a man can do, a woman can do if that's what she wants to do.
Sure.
Right?
But better?
But so and I'll come back to the better. I'm not letting that go. I'll come back to it.
Okay.
Right? So anything a man can do, a woman can if she wants to. But she needs to factor into the equation the societal expectations that are going to drain her. She needs to factor in all the biases that she will encounter in the workplace, like performance bias, where when a man and a woman turn, I mean, I think it was a couple of days ago, the UN Development Programme issued the Gender Inequality Report, and staggeringly, some almost is late into the 40% of people still think that when it comes to high office, you know, in politics, men do better than women, and that, you know, they expect it to be men. So in terms of the way we think, it is still certain echelons, even in women's mind, are still reserved for men. And so if a woman has to battle that in the workplace, as in respect is not automatically conferred on her, she doesn't automatically get credited for her achievements, and she really has to fight for that recognition. That is draining, and that can really affect people's performance. And then there's a small matter of childbirth. Now, when women go off to have children, suddenly their responsibilities have doubled. Right now, they are now responsible for another human being. Their biology is adjusting to, you know, the car crash that just happened to their body, right? And their hormones are again adjusting, but they are then supposed to just come into the workplace if you're lucky, right? And you get maternity leave. I believe in the US is what, you know, you guys don't get anything like that.
I don't think we even give it. We're really bad at social support over here. You guys are good at over there in Europe and France and stuff. You guys have all sorts of good support.
So women are expected to come in after 6 weeks when your body is still in flux. Now, you're coming at 6 weeks and you're going to come and compete with a man whose biology is still intact, nothing has happened. Give yourself a break, right? It's just not, yes, you can compete all you want, but at some point, something is got to break. And then also, and I've been there, Chris, where I'm literally lactating in the office, right? Where you have to, you know, in a meeting, it gets to a point where you'll have to excuse yourself because you think that if you don't excuse yourself, literally, your breasts are going to explode. Now, you cannot be sitting in a board meeting and be fully cognizant of what's going on when you're under that, you know, physical pain and biological pressure. And so for the women rushing back into the workplace, perhaps after childbirth, it's just not conducive. It doesn't make you weak. It just means that your body is doing something that you need to pay attention to. And what we need is for society to put as much weight and importance on that given birth and that child rearing as they would give to somebody going out of the home to work.
There you go. And I like that caveat, the but that you said, because like there are certain things that women do that men cannot do better. Men don't walk around saying there are things that we can do. We can do, well, the line is anything a woman can do, men can do better. That's not true. And I never heard any men really say that. So if there are, someone punch them in the whatever for me. But no, I mean, men can't do childbirth better. It's not impossible, or that's completely impossible. The nurturing, the design that what women give to children in raising them and shaping them, you can't take away the mother and father, the masculine and feminine, in what those two people are raised by. Otherwise, they end up with deficiencies. And this is all science and factual based. And so, we're designed to be complements to each other. And a lot of what everyone's dealing with in society is suddenly shoving, women into roles starting in the 60s. And, they've got to balance these two, and they still want to go back to their biological nurturing nest and be the mother. And then they've got this workplace that's very masculine, that's very competitive, and it's a merit-based society in work. It's not anything that where somebody, should be recognized or get a free handout. It's merit-based. At least most are. I don't know. Some of the big corporations here in America have kind of become these egalitarian socialist monsters that is the reason they're losing money. But so you talk about in your book several different things. How right foods can heal you and make you feel great. Food is a big thing that's helped me in my old age. A little exercise and how to stabilize and transform your emotional well-being. This is really important for women, their emotional well-being. How to make space for spirituality and how to manage your time. Talk to us a little bit about some of those so that you can manage the octopus on the treadmill, if you would.
And so, I mean, all the things I talk about in the book there, those things men can benefit from too. So these are basic well-being tenets. But for women, particularly working mothers, just being cognizant of the pressures they're under, they cannot afford to just bumble on like everybody else simply because their deliverables are higher than other people's, perhaps. And so when I talk about, for me, until, I got myself sick, exercise, I just didn't do exercise. I just didn't do sweat. It was all a bit too much and I couldn't be bothered. And I didn't understand that, and I never had a weight problem. And I thought it was just people that wanting to lose weight that exercised, right? I was that uneducated about it. And it was only when I had my issues that I started understanding about how exercise is good for your mental health and also, physically. Yes, you get to look good when you exercise and stuff like that. You have toned abs and arms and whatever. But it's not just about the yoga bum. It is about how you get to feel in your body, how you get to feel strong, and how exercise can help you cut through stress. And so, considering that these working mothers are under enormous amounts of stress, you need to incorporate exercise into, your lifestyle. And so for me, that's something I came to late in life, and I wish I had known better. Right.
And I think it's hard for mothers too, because they're cooking, they're cleaning, they're taking care of the kids. They're in a role where they're doing all their nurturing and the things that women are great at, and caring for their children, and so finding time for them. The one thing I've always, my mother went through this with us. She was always the last one to eat, the last one to sit down. She was so selfless and giving of herself to create an environment for us to have the best way to be raised and help us in all the ways that her biology told her. But one of the challenges I hear from women is that they spend so much time giving selflessly of themselves to their children and their loved ones that they don't take care of themselves.
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to self-care, there's a lot of women that feel guilty about the whole self-care element of it. But you can't pour from an empty cup.
That's
And
true.
so you need to, once they understand. So when I coach women, this is one of the important things that I get them to understand, that they are very important. They are at the center of a lot of people's lives. They have a lot of dependents, not just their children. And so it is really, they owe a duty of care to those people by them taking care of themselves. Because you cannot discharge your responsibilities if you're not feeling well. And I had that sharply brought to my attention when I had my second son, because I was very ill. I had to have surgery, etc., etc. And when I came home and could hardly walk and had to wake up in the morning to take painkillers before I could literally come downstairs, suddenly I could see the wheels coming off, because everything that I would have normally done wasn't being done. And it's not because my husband isn't capable. He's a very capable, strong man, but because of the gendered roles we had assumed, suddenly he didn't know like about a kid's school uniform or whatever, because I had always insisted on working and still doing all that. I mean, we don't live like that anymore because of what I went through, and now the roles have changed dramatically in the house. And so when people think that women are designed to do the housework, or we have special arms for baking or whatever it is, that's just nonsense. That's just a skill, and men can just as well do it as women. But because of our societal conditioning, it is assumed that the woman is going to do those roles. And depending on the dynamic in your family, if it works for the woman to do it, knock yourself out. But at some point, you need to look at the home as an enterprise with two people, if you like, the two directors, you and your partner, and make sure that whatever the activity set is for keeping that enterprise on the road is split fairly.
There you go. And well, that's the balance, you know, that's the real, I saw somebody recently, it was kind of a TikTok video that went kind of viral, and someone was talking about how, you know, in a marriage or relationship, you know, it's not a 50-50 partnership. There are times where one partner needs more help than the other. And she was talking about how, you know, sometimes I sit down with my partner and they go, "Hey man, I'm having a hard day, something at work or whatever the case is, or energy wise, I'm at 20%. And the other partner goes, "Hey, I'll fill in your 80%. I'll do it." And, you know, it's not a 50-50 thing. And it's like what you talk about, where, you know, everyone needs to support each other in roles and fill in the holes or fill in places where they need to. And, you know, vice versa. There's the, "Hey, I'm feeling it here today." And she talked about how if we both come home and we go, "Hey, we're both at 20%, we need to figure out how to not take and react to each other in a way that is destructive, and try and find where they can get back to that balance." Because, you know, we all have bad days and we all have struggles, and sometimes we're going through things, and that's the beauty of a relationship, is you can hopefully support one another.
And so when you say it's not 50-50, I actually beg to disagree. It should be 50-50. It should be 50-50, as in, and when I work with clients, I sit down and I whip out the spreadsheet and I'm like, list out the activity set. And then, because the women always think that, and I used to fall into that category thinking, I've got one of the good ones. I've got a good husband. He helps around the house, but it's in the languaging. He helps around the house. Like, we have to do it and somebody else is helping, rather than the ownership of, this is the activity set, this is what makes this household work. Now here are the two capable individuals, who is going to do what. And depending on how you come out with the split, you know, if it suits the dynamic for it not to be 50-50, that's fine, but it's an individual dynamic. And also that split is got to be fluid, right? Depending, so that is the point I think you were alluding to. Somebody comes home and they're 20%. So depending on the tasks and who's doing what, it's got to be fluid, as in when I was sick and I couldn't keep the end of the bargain of whatever, the other person needs to be able to fill in. But at the start of it, at the core is clarity on the activity set and making sure that is split equitably, so that one person is not left burning out whilst the other person is completely oblivious to what's going on.
There you go. I love that analogy. So there's several different services you offer on your website, and consulting you do, coaching you do. Let's talk about that. I noticed there's a mastermind on here, and then our masterclass, and then some free sessions and different things that you do to help people. Let's talk about those.
Right. So when I work with women, so basically, I've got a coaching program that I put women through, and I just specialize in working mothers. So if you're not working mother, you're not my people, unfortunately. It's not because I don't like you. It's just they come with a unique set of challenges, right? And so basically, and I also work holistically. So I'm looking at the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So we go through that whole aspect of their lives to see what is going on, as in troubleshooting, and what fixes need to be put in place. And I practically give them a routine for their lives, as in what should the day look like. And I mean, we look, apart from the fact that we work on the physical, so the physical, we're looking at things like nutrition, what they should be eating, sleep, exercise, that sort of thing. So that's physical. And then we're looking at the emotional, as in stress, and how they're processing emotions and their mindset and all that kind of stuff. And then it's also mental, because we should be continuous improvement. We should always be up leveling ourselves and who we are and stuff like that. And then I look at things like communication skills, self-esteem, all that kind of stuff. So what I would call the worky skills, as in the skills they need to succeed in the workplace. Because a lot of women, they go to the workplace and they think, okay, I'm here, whatever my boss is asking, that is what I'm doing. But you need to be able to have that conversation with your boss. They need to understand what is on your plate, and you need to be clear on your deliverables, what you can and what you can't deliver. But a lot of people never really have that conversation with their boss, and things keep piling, and before you know it, they're not delivering. Right. And so it's having that self-esteem to have that conversation, to manage expectations, as it were, so that you will be able to actually deliver properly. So we go through all that. I look at their relationships as well, because most relationships tend to be, I'm not a relationship coach, but what I look at is the dynamic. And again, what we talked about, well, especially that I whip out. So we're looking at giving your partner the clarity in terms of how we're keeping the show on the road, because a lot of partners have got no idea the pressure and the burden that their partner is carrying.
There you go. And these are really important tasks. You've got with coaching, people can watch your masterclass. That's a big part of it. People can get involved with you. How do people reach out and work with you, talk to you about working with you, and get to know you better?
Yes. So when they watch my masterclass, they would know whether I'm their cup of tea or not, because I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And so if they watch my masterclass then and they think, okay, she resonates with me and I want to work with her, then there's a link. So they will get a link as in to book a call with me. And then, I will then speak to them and see if they're a fit, because again, there's no point in dragging somebody over a line that they don't want to be dragged over. And so on my website, people can go as well there and book a one-to-one with me as well. And we have that initial conversation to see whether we are a fit, and then if we're not, we part as friends. You go your way, I go my way, and if we are a fit, we get to have fun together and literally release your greatness.
There you go. I mean, and I think a lot of women need, I think we all need a lot of help, actually, when it comes down to it. I know a lot of mothers, like you say, burn out and struggle with work-life balance and all this stuff that goes on. Our biologies weren't designed for a lot of this crap that we deal with today. In fact, between phones and blue light and computers and stuff, our biologies are still trying to keep up with what we're putting ourselves through. The junk food that we eat, this processed food, our bodies are like, this isn't working for us, and so we're ramming ourselves through so many challenges biology wise. Anything more you want to tease out on the book and your services and how you do them, and before we go?
Well, so I mean, in the book, of course, I talk about the spiritual aspect of things, and there's nothing woo-woo there at all. For me, spirituality really is psychology on steroids, as in your own personal philosophy. What it looks at your values and what actually you will die for. And a lot of people, this is not clear to them. They don't actually understand what it is they're going to die for. And you need to know who you are, what makes you tick, and what actually gets you engaged. And once you know that, and lots of people have changed jobs because of that. Because before that, they were just doing it because they pay the bills, but they're unhappy. They hate their boss, whatever, right? But they're just there thinking, this is as good as it gets. But when you get into the spirituality side of things and you start seeing yourself as, let's talk about nutrition, for example. For me, my philosophy there is my body is a temple. And so if my body is a temple, I'm not going to fill it with rubbish, am I? I'm going to eat food that sustains my body. And so this is where your spirituality then dictates how you move, as it were. And so it's understanding that, because that determines your mindset, and your mindset is what's going to drive your thoughts, and your thoughts are what's going to drive your actions. So if you're there trying to, I don't know, lose weight, for example, and you're finding it hard and you can't be motivated and whatever it is, it's just peeling the layers back and going back to, hang on, how do I see myself? How do I operate in this arena? Who am I? And this is where the spirituality helps you do things that normally you wouldn't do. And also about working holistically. So sometimes what happens is, maybe when we're looking at the physical side of things, people are there thinking, okay, I'm going to eat this, I'm going to sleep however many hours or whatever. And they're struggling with the physical things. But when you come to the emotional side, for example, maybe there's something that's stressing them out. And if you can get to the bottom of that stressor and eliminate that stressor, then that can then support the physical. And also, you can use the physical to support the emotional. So you're stressed out, your boss is stressed you out. If you know that exercise is one of the quickest way to cut through stress, and you come home and you belt out there and you go for that run, you release those endorphins and you come back feeling, $1 million. The next day you will go to work and thinking, yes, I can take this on, rather than coming home, being stressed out, eating more biscuits and staying under the duvet. So it is about how the different segments support other segments. And that's why I work holistically, because otherwise anything else is hard work. And for me, my mission is to get women to stand in their power, because I absolutely believe that with empowered women on the planet, we can fly. We can literally, there's nothing to stop us. And also, there's research out there, this came out from London School of Economics, showing that children's emotional template is really set by their mother, right? So their mother's well-being. So the mother's mental health is what affects the children's emotional template.
Oh, yeah.
Now, and I've been asked these questions, what about the dad? I don't know, but perhaps it's a primary carer, which still tends to be the mother in our society. Now, if you stretch this, you have children coming up, and if their mother is stressed out, if their mother is all over the show, these children, their mental well-being is being impacted. And that is why, for me, it is important that these mothers are taken care of, that these mothers take the time for their self-care, because otherwise we are impacting on the next generation. And if we don't take care of the next generation, what we're doing is impacting our pensions, because who is going to pay our pensions, when we get there?
That's
right?
true.
So the women is so important in terms of them looking after themselves, after their well-being, and being able to discharge their responsibilities.
There you go. It's so true. I mean, mental health and we see mothers that struggle with toxicity and mental health and stuff. And when they do, it affects the children. The nest of the home is so important in being able to raise children and have them be mentally balanced well. And if they don't have those strong feminine and healthy masculine roles that are presented to them, so they can see how a relationship moves forward between two people, how the biology works and everything else, they're lost. And that's what people really end up doing. They're fighting biology for most of their lives.
Yeah.
So give us your .com so people can find you on the interwebs, please.
Yeah, so .com is giftyandright.com. And all my social media handles are there as well, because I'm on most of the social media.
And Gifty, it's been wonderful to have on the show, very insightful, and hopefully we can improve a lot of women's lives.
Thank you. Thank you ever so much for having me. I appreciate it.
There you go. Folks, order per book wherever fine books are sold. Go to Amazon or wherever the nice places for books. Stay on these alleyway bookstores. They're dark and damp, and you might stub your toe and get a tetanus shot. Check it out. Octopus on a Treadmill. Women's Success, Health, Happiness. Available on March 6, 2018. One thing I forgot to announce at the top of the show, we just booked CNN anchor Jake Tapper on the show. We've had a number of CNN anchors on the show. He will be on the show in August, so be sure to check that out. For the show, your family, friends, and relatives, as always. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next time. And that should have